what we want, just when we want it, right now. What we want, when we want it, right now.
William Ruto, the first thing he did, the first tweet he did as a president was a tweet to wade into the issue of Western Sahrawi and Morocco. And in both these occasions, we had African Union positions. Why not just align yourself with the AU position? The same person decides to take a position in regard to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, trying to blame the Palestinians when the AU had taken a position.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the backstory. If you're new here, kindly hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down below so that you can be notified whenever we post a new video. Now ladies and gentlemen, President William Ruto's government is yet again entangled in another regional conflict after President Ruto's government allowed a sanctioned Sudanese militia to hold a meeting in Nairobi so as to launch a parallel government in Khartoum. Now, the background to this is that in Sudan there are two warring factions, one led by the army and another one led by RSF. RSF is a paramilitary force in Sudan. Paramilitary force just like the GSU in Kenya. So after Omar al-Bashir was toppled in 2023, the two forces started fighting for power. One is led by the army and another one led by Ahmedid, that is the RSF. So they've been fighting for for 2 years now, and there have been efforts to make them come on a negotiating table. One of the efforts was launched in 2023, but the army led by Burhan rejected that effort, which was led by IGAD, because whoever was elected, who is President William Ruto, to chair that IGAD-led meeting, rejected President William Ruto's chairmanship by accusing him of being close to the RSF leader, Hemedi. So apparently yesterday, the RSF faction held a meeting at the KICC to plan for the relaunch or for the launch of what it termed as a government of peace and unity.
Right now, what we want, just when we want it, right now. What we want, when we want it, right now. Justice, justice for Sudanese.
Justice, justice for Sudanese.
Justice, justice for Sudanese.
Justice, justice for Sudanese.
Shukran alaikum kathir.
The move has apparently triggered reaction from Khartoum, that is Sudan, led by the army chief Al-Burhan. And Sudan, in their communique, has said they condemn Kenya for hosting a political agreement with the RSF. And it has called it a violation of sovereignty and an endorsement of terrorism. The Sudanese government has vowed unspecified action over Kenya's endorsement of Rapid Support Forces, that is RSF, citing that Kenya has allowed a parallel government to hold talks despite assurance from Kenya of not allowing RSF to do the same. So, ladies and gentlemen, the question is, what is the interest of Kenya in Sudan? And why did we have to allow RSF and not both parties? If we are leading a peace kind of negotiation, then we should have allowed both parties to come to Kenya and hold a meeting which ideally could have been led by, let me say, IGAD or AU. But in this case, RSF held their own meeting on their own with their commanders and all that in Nairobi. Someone once said that there were no government officials, there were no Kenyan government officials, and that KICC is a private entity that can be hired by anyone. Yeah, it's true. But for such a high level function to be held in any state, think there must be a green light from the top hierarchy of the government. So the question is, what is the interest of Kenya in Sudan? You know, some months back, Kenya was accused of interfering in internal affairs of DRC. This was because there was a group which held a press briefing and signed a memorandum of understanding, that is the M23 rebels, together with other rebels within the eastern DRC, that is the South Kivu region, held a meeting in Nairobi, and they were to sign an agreement. Some of those agreements and accusations on Kenya for interfering with the internal affairs of other countries is what some pundits have accused President Ruto of. And they have said that those are some of the reasons as to why the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga lost the AUC job, because they are seeing Kenya as a rogue state that is being used by external actors to interfere into other African countries' internal affairs.
William Ruto, the first thing he did, the first tweet he did as a president was a tweet to wade into the issue of Western Saharawi and Morocco. And in both these occasions, we had African Union positions. Why not just align yourself with the AU position? The same person decides to take a position in regard to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, trying to blame the Palestinians when the AU had taken a position on this particular issue. So when the DRC conflict starts, the first thing he makes public is that I have called Macron, I've spoken with him about the conflict in DRC. Why not Ramaphosa? Why not Tshisekedi? Why not Mnangagwa? Why not Lorenzo of Angola? Because you have a regional body around here. You are quick to announce how you are talking to Mzungus, thereby hacking the African continent. Why not even say I've spoken with Faki as the first call I've made to find a solution to the conflict in the DRC? So those calls to Macron must stop. Otherwise, Kenya will not get any headway in the continent, because we'll be seen, as Professor says, as just but stooges of other nationalities.
Just as you have had that lawyer speak there, there are so many things that we need to work on as a country. One is our diplomacy and foreign policy. There are so many things that we are taking for granted as a country, and it impacts on the image of Kenyans out there. Sometimes the common man down here might not know so much about diplomacy, about international relations, but you only feel it when you get out there and maybe you go to apply for a job like the one that the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga had applied for. That is when you realize that, you know, we are very proud as Kenyans. We think that we have such a very, very big name out there. Then you go out and you realize that people do not hold us with a lot of repute as we think. Why? Because of simple mistakes like the ones that we are making out here. Other pundits are arguing that countries like South Sudan and Somalia, they negotiated for their peace agreement. The negotiations were done here in Nairobi, and they are not seeing any difference in what is happening with the RSF. But in this case, the difference is both parties are not involved, and it's only RSF and a few civil societies and a few political parties that attended that meeting. But one other funny thing is that MAD is sanctioned by the US. I don't know how President Ruto or President William Ruto's government will handle this, because by being seen to be in close contact with Hamidi, who is sanctioned by US, I don't know how we'll handle the US factor in this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there are so many things that have happened that affects our foreign policy in President Ruto's government. Since he was elected, a lot of diplomatic tiffs and rows have happened. Starting from the very day that he was to be sworn in, there was a diplomatic tiff between Kenya and Morocco, where Kenya invited Sarahawi for President William Ruto's swearing-in ceremony. Then Morocco launched a complaint. President William Ruto had to delete a tweet that he had made after Morocco complained. Another issue was the issue of DRC, where M23, which is a rebel group, just as I had said, together with other rebel groups, signed an agreement in Nairobi. Nairobi was to lead a peace process in DRC. They were like the leading lights in the peace process. That was to be led by former President Uhuru Kenyatta. DRC had to recall their ambassador. The third one was the tiff between President Ruto's government and Sudan, where Sudan accused Kenya of financing or being in closer relation with Hemedi. And Sudan had to recall their ambassador as well. This is now the third issue, the fourth issue that is arising. So the question is, what is our interest in all these countries? And what is it that we cannot explain to Kenyans? Because all these things are affecting us at the end of it. And is it that we do have like competent guys that understand international relations at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? And what is the role of the CS Foreign Affairs, that is Mudavadi, in all this?
The Govt that we've had in the foreign ministry is not serving the interest of this nation at all. It runs from whether it be national, continental, whether it be it at the EAC level, whether it be it with Western Sahrawi and Morocco, whether it be with the Ukraine-Russia conflict, whether it be with Israel, Palestinians. It's just too much. So there must be, or there should be, a change in the leadership at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
The image that we are putting out there is that other African countries are looking at us as a laptop that is being used by foreign actors so as to interfere in the internal affairs of other countries. And which country in Africa would take us seriously if that is the image that we are churning out there? So I think we need to work on our diplomacy. We need to work on our foreign policy and the soft power that we used to have, where the image of Kenya was of that peace-loving country that would be used to lead peace negotiations in the Horn of Africa. But right now, what is happening is that we're being seen as a country that is somehow rogue and able to do the dirty work for the big boys, which should be the case. So, because if you look at the issue of Sudan has been fighting for all these years, and Sudan has a lot of oil deposits and gold and a lot of minerals. It has another very, very fertile land. The area that is being controlled by RSF right now is one of the most fertile and the richest region in Sudan. And then there is the interest of the international actors in the minerals and oil in South Sudan. So sometimes you'd want to question, are we acting on behalf of foreign actors so that we can take care of their interests? And at what cost? Is it going to cost us as a country? Or if we have no interest, then I think the nation or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs needs to come up and tell Kenyans what is happening. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, that is it from us today. Until next time, bye-bye.